Hi, and thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to be talking about energetic blockages and how they prevent us from moving forward in our practice. We've all stubbed our toe and experienced what that feels like. We stub the toe, we have pain, there might be swelling, maybe even blood. We walk around a little bit funny for a couple of days as our body sends all of its energetic resources to repair the tissues that have been damaged. This is an example of an energetic blockage in its most simplest form. When we have an energetic blockage, our energy is diverted from the natural process of maintaining homeostasis. When I get upset, for example, I become fixated on the upset. I might even spend extra time talking about it or thinking about it. This rumination is actually taking energy away from my body that could be used for maintaining health and well-being. Rather than maintaining health and well-being, this energy is now being diverted to address an energetic blockage that is causing dis-ease. What if I told you that every time you got annoyed or irritated, you were stealing energy from your body? We are pranic beings. Life is living you. The prana that we have is finite. It's comprised of prenatal prana that we receive from our mother and postnatal prana that we ingest through the food and the other activities that we do. Every single thing that we do, every single thing that comes into our sensory organs is prana. From the sunlight to the food we eat, to the water we drink, to the air we breathe. And all of these sources of prana help to build our pranic reserves. Prana, or energy, life force, is used to fuel the body. The body uses it to maintain effectiveness and efficiency. If I spend time unnecessarily worrying about something or someone or a relationship that has maybe gone awry, then I'm actually stealing prana from my physical body, and that could cause an imbalance, especially if it's a long-term energetic blockage. We all have these things though, right? We all have upsets in our life. And if we know what to do with them, we can release them and let them go. Yoga teaches us that we should be wary or aware, at the very least, of the kleshas. The kleshas include our ego, the ignorance that we have around perception and verbalization, our attachment and our aversion to things, and the fear of death or the fear of impermanence. These are the root of our misperception of separation, and they keep us bound into our karmic experience. As we use our practice off the mat, we can develop a relationship with dis-ease or energetic blockages that helps us to understand more about our samskaras or our patterns. When we understand more about our samskaras, we can begin to undo the doing. Let's say I am upset. I'm experiencing an upset. Somebody said something, and my perception of what they said is negative. It causes me dis-ease because there's a dissonance. I don't feel congruent. My energy and someone else's energy isn't matching, and that causes my brain to have a problem. It can't quite wrap itself around. Now, I could allow my brain to go off on a tangent. I could perpetuate the samskaras and the dis-ease, the dissonance that I'm feeling, or I can do the work that I need to do to let go of the attachments that are keeping me in dissonance. Let's say, for example, I post something on social media. The social media post might be very benign to me because I don't have an attachment to the word or the topic that is being highlighted. But it might be very activating for someone else. In this scenario, the individual might come and ask me why I posted that. They might even express why it upset them. Now, I can accept that their perception of the world and their story around the world is different than mine, and I can apply compassion. or I can let their dissonance cause dissonance in me. Now, if it causes dissonance in me, then likely I am falling into my samskaras of righteous indignation, feeling like I'm right or like my perception is universal. But that's not true. That's a misunderstanding. I can take time, if I'd like to really work with this energetic blockage, to identify what it is that is causing me to be upset. Why do I care if that person understands my perspective or if they agree with me? Can I just have compassion for the situation and understand that this is part of the human condition? If I can't, then there's work to do. And this is where we find ourselves many times. You could go two ways. You can do the work and ask yourself, why am I upset about this? Or you can unfollow the person, or maybe retaliate or say something that you might regret later. But if I do the work, I ask myself, why do I feel the way that I feel? I don't say, why is this person doing something to me? But I say, this person is a divine being in a human experience. Why do I feel this way when somebody says this to me? When we look at that, we might identify or understand that a messenger has arisen, that when we experience this type of dissonance, it makes us feel less than, maybe lacking, or disconnected even. If we can identify which messenger has arisen, we can forgive ourselves for buying into the misperception. That's not true. You're not separate. You're not less than. There's nothing that you need to do or acquire. If someone doesn't agree with you, that is fine. That's their material. If it activates your material, then there's still material to work with. And there's still some part of you that's looking for that approval or that acceptance. But that's not really necessary. You see, your self-worth does not depend on someone else's approval of you. Your self-worth does not depend on what someone else thinks of you. Your self-worth doesn't even depend on whether or not you are right or wrong. You're not less worthy or less divine if you are incorrect, if you get an algebra problem wrong, and you're not less worthy if your perception is different from someone else's. One day, hopefully, we will all realize that everyone perceives things differently based on their karmic experiences. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is what it is. I don't need to attach to it. But if there's some part of me that is angry or upset because someone doesn't see it my way, then there's a part of me that is looking for validation from another being. There's a part of me that feels that I need to be seen, heard, and connected to be valid or valued. And that's a misunderstanding. We are awareness in which everything is arising. The awareness in me is the same awareness in you. I can't be disconnected from you. Even my worst enemy and I are intimately connected because we share awareness. The thoughts and perceptions, the verbalizations, the stories, and the patterns that one experiences throughout their life, that's their karma, but it is not universal. It's our tool to awaken into our natural enlightened state of being and to recognize and realize who we are and who everyone else is too. We can use these understandings, awarenesses, and practices to neutralize our polarity and come into a place where we can be more compassionate both with ourselves and with others, or we can continue to perpetuate the misunderstanding that my way is my way and right, and your way is your way and wrong. But that's just not true. Next time you have an experience where you feel activated by someone else, rather than getting angry with the other person, acknowledge that that person is a divine being in a human experience. Put them to the side and ask yourself why you feel the way you do about the interaction. How did the interaction make you feel about yourself? If you feel less than, lacking, flawed, disconnected, incomplete, or bound in some way by time or space because of the interaction that you had, then you can rest assured it's a misunderstanding. You can forgive yourself for buying into the idea that this misunderstanding is true, and you can remain authentically in your truth, your enlightened state of being. Let's practice. Take a moment to come to a comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall and place one hand on the heart and the other hand on top of that hand. Recall a time or an instance where you felt upset from someone else or something that someone had said to you, or perhaps it's a belief that was projected onto your experience. Take a moment just to recall that experience and how it made you feel in your body and your mind. Take a moment to acknowledge the person who might be involved in this experience. Acknowledge that they are a divine being in a human experience. Acknowledge that their perception and their story is theirs to have. It is part of their karmic experience. Acknowledge that it has nothing to do with you and it does not impact your self-worth. Acknowledge that their perception and their story does not impact their self-worth either. Now that you've done the work of acknowledging them as a being and their right to be in their perceived experience, shift your awareness and your focus back to the way you felt during the interaction. Without attaching any emotion or thought to the person who was involved in the experience, come back to the feeling and how it made you feel in your body and your mind. Notice if you felt lacking, incomplete, less than, disconnected, and bound by time or space. Take a moment to forgive yourself for buying into this misunderstanding. I forgive myself for buying into the idea that I am separate. I forgive myself for judging my experience as less than. I forgive myself for buying into the idea that my experience is offensive in some way to someone else. I forgive myself for buying into the idea that my experience makes me less of a person or less worthy of love. I forgive myself for judging my experience as incomplete or lacking because someone else doesn't see my perspective. I forgive myself for buying into the idea that I am bad or wrong because someone is projecting their experience onto me. I forgive myself. I am a divine being in a human experience, and I am doing the very best I can. I am embracing my experience as my karmic journey. I am understanding and acknowledging the value that my karmic journey has to my lived experience. I am releasing any attachment to my karmic experience as it impacts or affects other karmic experiences. I am acknowledging the value of all of our experience as the collective consciousness. And I am embracing opportunities to let go of my projected anger and to forgive myself for buying into a misperception. I am a divine being in a human experience, and I am doing the very best that I can. I hope you found this session helpful. Upsets can be challenging, but remember, whether the upset has to do with the gross physical body or whether it has to do with the psychological body, it takes energy away from the body's natural rhythm of maintaining balance. Our system, our body, always wants to come back to balance. Let's do our work off the mat so that our body can maintain its energetic integrity and so that we can maintain an awareness of our natural enlightened state of being.